What's going on, everybody? Today I'm going to show you how to do a front brake pad change on a 2012 Toyota Sienna. This should also cover any years from 2011 to 2020. Alright, for this job you're going to need the brake pads themselves, the caliper tool, 17mm wrench, 14, 21, and special lug socket here, a ratchet, wide jaw pliers if you don't have the caliper tool, some brake lube, brake clean, breaker bar, and a torque wrench. You also need a jack and a pair of jack stands. First, engage the parking brake. Then, using the 21mm socket and your specialized socket if you have one, crack loose the lug nuts. You'll want to do this while the vehicle is on the ground. Then jack up the vehicle as shown in this picture and put the jack stands underneath. Then remove the lug nuts the rest of the way and take the wheel off. Now's a good time to check out the rotor and make sure it's in good condition. In my case it is, so I'm not going to be changing it out. Next, take the 17mm wrench and the 14mm socket and loosen the bolt that goes into the slide pin. Then go ahead and remove it completely. Next, remove the lower slide pin bolt. Now the caliper should be loose and you should be able to swing it up and out of the way. And here's what it should look like with the caliper removed. Next, you're going to push the pistons back into the caliper. I'm going to use the caliper piston tool here, but you could use a pair of pliers or a C-clamp as well. And just keep an eye on your brake line, you do not want to get this kinked. And I'm going to remove one of the old brake pads and use it to help me push in the pistons. This little caliper tool is pretty handy, so I'll put a link for it and all the tools used in this video in the description below. And you can see how those pistons are just getting slowly pushed back into the housing. And you know you're done when they're pretty much flush with the housing. Next, just inspect the caliper one more time, just make sure it's in good shape. Also check out all the seals, and spray it down with some brake clean. Then remove the other brake pad. Then give everything a good spray with the brake clean again. Then remove the lower slide pin. And just do this carefully, you do not want to pull that rubber boot off. And here's what the slide pin looks like removed. It's pretty dirty, so we're going to clean it off, grease it up, and slide it back in. I like to use a synthetic lube from Permatex on all the brake components. Then reinsert it. And make sure that little rubber boot gets seated down correctly. Next, pull out the upper slide pin, give it a good cleaning, lube it up, and reinsert it. And make sure that rubber boot seats down correctly in this slide pin as well. Next, take your new brake pads out of the package, and hopefully it came with hardware. I'll leave a link for these Bosch ones in the description below. Then install the wear indicators at the top of each one of the brake pads. You should hear a little click when they're in position, and they should look like this. And you can see when the brake pad wears down, that little tab will start hitting the rotor, making a screeching noise, letting you know to replace the brakes. Next, open up this bag. This has all the new brake hardware, and we're going to replace the old with the new. And as you install the new hardware, just make sure each piece is completely seated down. Now move to the top of the caliper and do this hardware as well. Once you install the new hardware, now's a good time to put a little dab of lube on each piece. Also put a little bit of the lubricant on the back side of the brake pads as well. Now install the new brake pads by sliding them into the new hardware. Then install the brake pad springs. Then slide the caliper back into place. Just make sure all the springs and the brake pads stay in place as you do this. Then reinstall the upper and lower slide pin bolts. Then using the torque wrench, tighten these bolts down to 25 foot-pounds. Then I always go back and just double check that they're torqued down correctly. And if you guys are looking to change the rear brake pads as well, I made a video for that, and I'll leave a link up above here and at the end of the video. Then reinstall the wheel. Tighten down the lug nuts to a final torque of 76 foot-pounds. And obviously I only showed you how to do the brake pads on one side, so you're going to want to repeat the entire process on the other side. Then the last thing you want to do is build up the brake pressure by turning the vehicle on first and pressing the brake pedal a few times till you build up pressure before you shift into any gear. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Also check out all the links in the description below. And also check out all my other maintenance videos. And as always, we'll see you in the next one.